Previously, on day 2 of our off-road trip from Phoenix to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, we continued north from Horse Thief Cabin in Crown King, up Senator Highway and through Prescott. We then traveled old railroad beds as we wound our way through Jerome and to our overnight stop in Sedona. The day had gone much better, but some of the trails and hints of vehicle problems reminded us of the day before. Today, we continue with day 3 of our off-road journey as we work our way from Sedona to our next stop north of Flagstaff. We'll pass on the toughest trail we've encountered so far as we drive over red rocks, climb out of Sedona, and drive through the San Francisco volcanic field.
The next morning, waking up with Cathedral Rock out our windows was quite a treat. We got up and explored the area around the cabin. After loading up the Jeep, it was hard to say goodbye to this place.
And so day 3 begins.
Indeed.
Finally, around 11 that morning, we were on the road towards Sedona. After filling up, we joined the numerous Jeeps driving around Sedona. Navigating to our next trail took a little while, and after numerous roundabouts, we finally found our trail along Morgan Road. We aired down in the lot at the start to Broken Arrow and mentally prepared ourselves for what was to come.
Alright, let's do it.
This was by far the hardest trail along our route and the hardest trail I've ever taken my Jeep on. After the tires were low enough, we set out on the trail. We immediately began climbing over some pretty serious obstacles.
This is a little test.
Oh!
This is to keep the passenger cars from coming down this road.
I guess.
The Jeep did fine, even though I heard noises my Jeep has never made before. Tires squealing on rocks.
We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh god. Where the hell is the trail?
This way.
Okay.
Okay, we got this trail. Come on.
After backing to let a couple of Jeeps pass and following some pink Jeep Tours past Submarine Rock, we made our way to Chicken Point without any issues. A few of the hills had some pretty serious rock ledges, and we had a little articulation crossing over some trail erosion, but the Jeep was doing it. Although crawling along in 4 low, we were doing it.
Having fun? Oh my god.
You could say that.
Just after noon, we made it to Chicken Point, the halfway and southernmost point along the trail. Most people stop here for pictures, lunch, or simply to enjoy the scenery. You are able to park your vehicle right on top of a rock ledge that looks south into an amazing open area. Surrounded by beautiful red rocks, the red Jeep fit in quite nicely. At this point, it all made sense. We had made it to this point, although not at the end of our journey. It seemed like a sign that this trip was going right. After taking some pictures of the landscape, and even more of my Jeep, we continued on. At this point, you have the option of continuing back the way you came, or being a chicken, or continuing along the more difficult and scenic part of the trail. Broken Arrow was only halfway over, and the most challenging bits still laid ahead.
We left Chicken Point and continued to climb up around the famous natural roundabout and over the red slick rock.
Rock, big rock.
rock.
I am on top of the world.
Yeah, we're literally driving over the red rocks now, which is fun. Get some trail. There's
See the trail.
With the Jeep making some crazy clunking noises from flexing so much. We stuck it to the main trail as we drove literally all over the red rocks. After navigating through some tight trees, we arrived at the single hardest point on the trail, the Devil's Staircase. We parked the Jeep and went to scope out the obstacle.
Devil's Staircase is a series of rock ledges that you have to drop down in order to reconnect with the exit route back into Sedona. The trail is barely wide enough for a vehicle with big rocks on both sides. The steep drops mean that you need high clearance and plenty of protection underneath your vehicle should you scrape.
It's a good thing I emptied my bladder now.
With my adrenaline pumping and the camera set up to capture whatever was about to happen, we climbed back into the Jeep. We slowly drove to the top of the staircase. It was too late now. We hadn't come up the entire trail to chicken out here. As we descended, tires squealed like crazy. The Jeep was pitched the furthest down I've ever seen it, and Daniel was sitting in the passenger seat questioning my sanity.
Again, you really sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
Okay, too late now. Watch
Yeah, you
the
wanna turn
rock.
Belts are locking because the Jeep does not like doing this. We are down. We're good.
With extreme focus and nerves flaring, we crawled down Devil's Staircase without a problem. No contact with the bottom of the Jeep at all. Only extreme braking the whole way down. We had done it, and with excitement in the air, we made it the rest of the way back to pavement. While the trail was only 3 miles long, we had spent over an hour crawling at 5 miles an hour and stopping for breaks. By 1 p.m., we had made our way through Sedona to Schnebly Hill Road, which would bring us from Sedona up to I-17 for our journey north. We expected Schnebly Hill Road to be an easy and fun trail that climbed up onto the Mogollon Rim to connect with I-17. We were wrong. Schnebly Hill proved to be a bit slower and a bit more of a challenge than initially thought. Rocky for its entire length, it's hard to keep up any speed at all without your vehicle violently shaking. After passing numerous Jeep tours and a rattlesnake, we continued the rapid climb. By about 2 p.m., we had reached the top, where the view again made up for the brutal drive we had endured. Schnebly Hill Vista overlooks all of Sedona. We continued on, now hungry and running behind. The last few miles to get to I-17 were mostly wide and flat forest roads, with an occasional mud puddle to splash through to make sure we were awake. We again made it to pavement where we aired up before jumping onto I-17, bound for Flagstaff.
In Flagstaff, we had a late lunch before continuing northeast along Highway 89 towards Cinder Hills. We turned off the road onto Forest Road 776. Along its length, we were treated to an unusual landscape, volcanic cinders everywhere. We are now driving through the San Francisco volcanic field with its numerous cinder cones and unique terrain. Like sand, but with bigger pebbles, we had fun romping through the strange-looking place. After finding a bypass to connect to our next trail on Sunset Crater Loop Road, we were on pavement for less than a mile before turning off onto O'Leary Peak Trail.
It was around 5 p.m. when we started this trail heading north on volcanic rock. The narrow trail was quite smooth and a nice change of pace from earlier in the day. We cruised along the scenic trail as it wound along the flanks of O'Leary Peak, one of the more prominent volcanoes near Sunset Crater. We began to head west and we again found ourselves on forest roads. After about 9 miles, we reached Highway 89, which we quickly crossed over to connect to our final trail for the day. Using Forest Roads 417 and 514, we crossed through the sparsely populated ranch land before ending up in the forest directly north of Mount Humphrey. Here, we were treated to excellent views of the still snow-capped peaks as we neared the cabin. Finally, 15 miles from Highway 89, we reached the turnoff for our cabin. 1 mile down a puddle-filled road, and we were home for the night.
We were lucky enough to arrive in daylight by about 6:30 that evening, although not much of it remained. We prepped the cabin, unloaded our things yet again, and spent some time relaxing. Kendra Cabin, our base for the night, sits in a huge meadow and overlooks the San Francisco peaks. We waited for the sun to set and prepped a campfire. Sitting outside, we were treated to spectacular views of the night sky as we feasted on some roasted kielbasa.
After putting out the campfire, we retreated in for the night. The temperatures dropped into the high 30s, and we regretted not getting the wood stove going. Regardless, the day had been tiring, covering 93 miles, with more than half of those being off-road again. We slept. Next time, we conclude our epic 450-mile off-road journey across Arizona as we drop over 3,000 feet from Peach Springs to the Colorado River at the bottom of the Grand Canyon.